Hello Year 3 and welcome to our third lesson on our arts, all about drawing cartoons. So it's moving on from our first two lessons, one of which looked at Quentin Blake. Then we looked at how you could show emotion using cartoon faces and characters and feelings. And now we're going to look at to see if we can draw a cartoon in the style of Quentin Blake. And Quentin Blake's work, when you first look at it, looks really quite simple, but actually it's quite detailed and difficult to draw. And so that's going to be your challenge. Now, his style looks very, very simple, but it's actually very detailed. He tends to draw fairly big noses but no straight lines. His lines are all quite jaggedy. So what I'd like you to do is he uses pencils and watercolors. First of all, he uses a very light pencil, and only when he's got it right does he try and darken it up and push a bit harder on the paper. And then when he paints them, he paints using watercolors, which gives it that lovely look. If you look at the image below, where sometimes the paint actually goes right over the bit being painted, and sometimes it goes outside, sometimes it stays just inside. If you look at the hair, for example, so he uses paint very carefully. And if you look at the hands on the character below, they're not completely painted. Sometimes it's just slightly blotchy, and that's his particular style. So what I want you to do is stop this video, take a note of this link here, how to draw like Quentin Blake, and watch that video very, very carefully. And when you've done that, if you want to watch another video on drawing like Quentin Blake, the one on how to draw Mr. Twit is also really good, and that's down there below, so you can use that. So stop the video and watch those two YouTube clips. Welcome back. So your task is going to be to draw a cartoon in the style of Quentin Blake, and the cartoon needs to be someone connected, so either our school or your family or someone else that you know, and it's got to be in the style of Quentin Blake. So it could be Mrs. Bowen or Miss Shaw, and I've put pictures of those down there for you to see, so you could use those. I'm sure they would be delighted to see your artwork of Quentin Blake illustrations based on themselves. And if you put it up on tapestry and it is one of them, I guarantee I will share it with them so they can see your great work. Now, it could also be another teacher. I know Joey did some really good work this week. Whilst we were looking at when he was in his bubble, he did some great cartoons of me when we were looking at the Emotions Day. So it could be another teacher, or it could be one of your students, or someone's friend, or one of your friends, or maybe a sibling. But be kind. Remember, cartoons are about exaggerating features. So the noses tend to be big, the ears tend to be bigger, etc. So you have to be very kind and make sure it's a nice picture of the person that you're drawing. Now, it could also be someone from your community, maybe your brownie leader or your football coach or someone who's led an after-school activity you're involved in. It could be anyone you like, as long as it's in the style of Quentin Blake with those jaggedy lines. Alternatively, if you're really struggling with that, and I can't believe you will, because I know some of you are very, very good illustrators, you might take your favourite Quentin Blake picture and see if you can redraw it and work from that. So from your favourite book, choose a picture and see if you can redraw that. Maybe you can find one on the internet if you haven't got any Quentin Blake books at home. So when you've done your drawing, you have to paint it. So the drawing is all in black and white, and then you have to paint it. Now, if you look at this clip and the video below, it shows you how to paint a Quentin Blake type cartoon using watercolors. Now, Quentin uses watercolors a lot. If you've got watercolors at home, that would be fantastic. If you haven't, you can use colored pencils or colored pens or other kinds of paint, but maybe it won't work quite as well as using watercolors. If you can use the watercolors, watch this video. This video also talks about drawing like Quentin Blake, but after 6 minutes and 20 seconds, he goes on to show you how to paint your drawing, and that's the bit I want you to really focus on. So then when you're finished, you can actually paint your drawing and get the colors right and get the look right, just like Quentin Blake. Now, when you've done that, here are some other ideas. If you're really into drawing cartoons and illustrating as part of your artwork, then how about drawing cartoons of your family or your pets in the style of another great cartoonist? What about Dr. Seuss? I know we in Pankhurst class love Green Eggs and Ham, and we love the pictures in that, and we've read it a few times to each other. So maybe you can try a Dr. Seuss type image, type cartoon. Those are a bit more complicated, but it's worth a try. What about Charles M. Schulz? Now, he was the man who drew all the Peanut cartoons, and there's a picture of some of his work down there. Very simple pictures of children with exaggerated large heads and funny shaped bodies. They're very much loved characters, so maybe you could try drawing your brother or your sister as a Peanuts style cartoon. Now, one we all know of is a man called Matt Groening, and he drew the Simpsons characters, all with their yellow skin and their exaggerated head shapes, etc. And I know I've seen some adverts recently on television for people who can send the photograph in, and that photograph gets turned into a Simpsons type caricature of themselves. Well, you don't need to send a photograph in. You could actually draw yourself, or maybe a member of your family, or even all members of your family, as a Simpsons type character with the yellow skin and the big eyes, and let's see what they look like. So when you've done all that work, we would love to see your work on Tapestry. And as I say, if there are any of the teachers or any of the staff here at the Langley Academy Primary, I promise you, I will print off your work and show them so that they can see the work themselves and see what you think they look like. So finally, if you want to actually watch some moving cartoons, how about these two? When we looked at France a few weeks ago, we were looking at Madeleine, and here is a Madeleine cartoon. I know you were reading some of those stories, so why not look at this cartoon and see if you can look at the artwork and enjoy the artwork as well as the story. And I know that those who've been back in my bubble particularly liked watching Mr. Bean when we've had a chance, and so here's a Mr. Bean that you might want to watch as well. I look forward to seeing you next week, and take care and see you soon. Goodbye.